and the day where the Mississippi Legislature will gavel in the 2022 session. Very timely to have the Speaker of the House, Philip Gunn, in the Super Talk studios with us. Happy New Year. Good morning, and thanks for joining us, Mr. Speaker.
Well, good morning to you, Gerard. Great to be back with you. Thank you for letting me be here today.
Yes, sir. So, a lot on the plate,
yes,
I think
sir.
It's safe to say. And as our listeners, of course, are interested in many of the issues you guys will be dealing with down there, it seems like only yesterday we were still down there debating all this stuff. And some of these issues, such as the medical marijuana one, have continued. And the tax reform issue. Those have continued to be discussed, deliberated, debated. What do you think you're going to take up first? Do you have any idea there? What's going on?
Well, I think one of the first items is going to be the congressional redistricting.
Okay.
That is something, of course, that has got to be done. It's not something we choose to do necessarily. As everyone knows, we do the census every 10 years, and based upon those numbers, we have to reapportion or redraw our districts. We do both the congressional districts, and each chamber does their own individual Senate and House districts. We have to make sure that all the districts are equal in population.
Yeah.
And the challenge I think we've had thus far with the congressional redistricting is the second district. Second district runs, it's Benny Thompson's district, runs along the river there. That district lost a substantial number of people. Don't hold me to this, but I think the number's like 65,000 people.
Sounds right, yeah.
So, to get that district, you got to shore that district back up. You've got to put 65,000 people back into that district, and so that is a challenge. The Coast District grew substantially, and I think it's going to have to reduce in size. I think the other two remained relatively stable. So, but they have to qualify, I think, February 1st or March 1st. So their qualifying deadline's coming up quickly. And so this is something that we need to deal with in short order. I think the Senate is planning to take theirs up this week. We recognize we have to do this, should do this probably in the first 2 weeks. So we're going to, I know a plan has been put out there. It is my understanding that Congressman Thompson's not happy with it. I suspect a lawsuit will ensue, but that is something that we've got to do in the first 2 weeks. So that'll be the first issue, I think.
Well, I apologize. I failed to mention that because that is one of the matters that your members and members of the Senate, they've been working on rather continuously.
Correct. There is a joint committee called Congressional Redistricting Committee. It's composed of House and Senate members, I think 5 on each side, for a total of 10. And they're the ones who draw these maps, look at the numbers, try to figure out a way to make it equitable and fair and that sort of thing. And they will then, it's my recollection that on my side of the building, it's the same committee that does the House maps.
Okay. So, Mr. Speaker, to those that would suggest that, hey, we have Republican majorities in the House, the Senate, in the governor's mansion, et cetera, we just should draw these districts in a way that would deliver based on voting population, registrations, and so forth. All 4 of our districts would elect Republican members of the U.S. House. Respond to that.
Well, we're bound by certain federal laws that require that prevent that from being the case.
Yeah.
We up until the last election or two have been under the Civil Rights Act and had to do a thing what we call pre-clearance, which means any map that we drew had to be approved by the Justice Department before it went into effect. There are a whole host of other laws from the United States Supreme Court that have come down over the years that dictate to us certain parameters that we have to comply with when we draw those districts.
So you could do it, but you're likely to end up in court and likely to lose.
Well, you just have to make sure that the way you do it complies with all of those laws.
Fair enough.
And in fairness, or I will say this, I'm proud of the fact that in 2012, which is the last time we did this, the maps that we drew then, if you recall, Barack Obama was the president at that time, and it was the Barack Obama Justice Department at that time. We drew the maps, and they could not find anything wrong with them. So we drew them fairly. We drew them in a way that complied with the law and met the requirements. And so that that we have a history of doing that.
Have you had a chance to review the proposed maps or been briefed by your members?
I've looked at the one on the congressional redistricting, yes, and I think they have done a fantastic job. I think they have drawn the map the best they can, given, as I say, the parameters that we have to work with, the laws that we have to work with, the fact that the 2nd District has lost 65,000 people. You got to go find 65,000 people and put them in that district. I think the map that they drew is the best option and the only option that they had.
Yeah, and 65,000 is really close to 10%, which is a big number to have to account for.
It is close.
For.
I think, what is it, 700,000? 700,000.
Yeah.
So you're talking almost 10% of a district.
Yeah, so it puts pressure and makes the chore more difficult when you have a big population exit like that.
Absolutely.
So, all right, so what else?
So that would be, one of the first items. Obviously, income tax is something you and I have talked many times about.
Yep.
And my house has worked very hard on a plan. We've been trying to work with the Senate on trying to find a way to make this happen. I think it is, as I've said on this show before and at other times, I don't know that there's anything greater that we as a legislature could ever do to help the financial situation of our people than to put more money back into their pockets. We've got to find a way to eliminate the income tax. And with all the excess revenue we've got right now and all the funds that have come in, there's never a better time to do it. And it is our position that we have, I don't know if you follow the joint legislative budget recommendation that was adopted in December, but we have funded all of government. We have filled the rainy day fund. We have fixed the PERS. There is not another governmental need, in my opinion, that needs to be met. And we still have, excess revenues. And so it is my opinion that money needs to be given back to the people. Rather than spending it, rather than finding more ways to spend it, we need to return the money back into the pockets of the people.
Yeah.
And you and I have talked about this. We talked about the economic impact of that. We had the economists who have researched our plan, who have indicated that if we eliminate the income tax, it will increase the state's wealth by $371 million a year. I think those numbers have probably gone up because of the increase in revenue that we've got. So we're talking almost $400 million more wealth per year that we would have.
Yeah.
There's no downside to putting money back into the pockets of the people. And we need to find a way to do this. We do not need to expand government. We do not need to spend more. We need to return the dollars back to the people. We had the Senate insisted on having hearings. I don't know if you followed. Well, you testified. I know.
Yes,
you
sir.
were one of the ones there. And so we had 7 witnesses who came to those hearings. You were one of them who testified that this is a solid plan. It is a good plan. It works to the benefit of the citizens. We had the National Taxpayers Union, the Tax Foundation. We had Empower Mississippi. We had you. We had 2 economists from Ole Miss, all of whom testified. That's 7. No, there's one more that I'm missing. That was 6. There's one more that I'm missing, all of whom testified. Grover Norquist, that's what it was, who flew in. He's the leading, foremost expert on taxes in the nation. He felt so passionate about this plan, he flew to Jackson, Mississippi to testify.
Had him on the show afterwards.
You had him on? I didn't know that. So 7 witnesses who testified that this is a solid plan. It needs to be passed. It will help the state of Mississippi. So we still feel strongly about that. We're going to make an effort to push forward on that again. I think there's no greater financial issue at hand this semester than that.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a top issue for us. Other issues, we have all the ARPA money we talked about. We've met with. Let me back up to the income tax.
Yeah.
Talking about meeting with people. As you know, I've traveled the state during the off-season. I have spoken from Corinth to the coast, from DeSoto County to Pascagoula, and all points in between. And every time I have an opportunity to explain this plan, everybody in the room comes up to me afterwards. I had no idea. This is a great plan. I'm for this. I've turned so many people in favor of the plan. And what you're going to hear is excuses to not pass it, like we don't want to raise anybody's taxes, or we're worried about the retirees. We have answered every one of those questions. Every objection's been raised to this plan, we've got an answer for. And now's the time to do it. We've talked to the business community. We've addressed their concerns. I think we have addressed every concern that's been expressed.
Yeah.
And now's the time to do it.
Speaker of the House Philip Gunn is our guest on Middays. Stay with us after the break. We got more to talk about with the speakers. Mississippi, we're in the studio with the Speaker of the House, Philip Gunn. We were just talking about, with the Speaker, the upcoming legislative session, which kicks off today at 12 o'clock noon. You're going to gavel in. All right, so the redistricting, tax reform. Anything else, sir, you wanted to add about the push for tax reform? Do you feel like that we're approaching a consensus to get something that would pass through the Senate and the governor would sign?
It's hard to say. We have reached out to the Senate on numerous occasions, tried to have conversations about what are your concerns. Tell us, we've proposed a plan. Tell us what you see as the problems with that plan being. We had a hearing that took place, and our plan was thoroughly discussed in that hearing. As I said before the break, I think we have tried to address every question, every concern that has been raised. And I believe we have a solid plan from which to work. Now, we've said all along, we're not married to our plan. If there are tweaks or improvements that can be made, we're open to that.
Yeah.
But no one else has come forward with a plan right now. And so this is the only obstacle, the only object that we have to work on.
Yeah.
So we're eager to see that it happened, but we want it to be substantive too, Gerard. We're not looking at some token tax plan to just check the box kind of thing. I don't know if people understand how their taxes are paid right now to the state, but you pay a 4% tax on what you make between $5,000 and $10,000 right now, and then you pay a 5% tax on everything you make above $10,000. Well, the amount that you make between $5,000 and $10,000, the amount at 4% that you pay is $200.
Yeah.
Now, to eliminate the 4% bracket is not going to cause people to jump up and down.
I agree.
They're going to get $200 back in their pocket for the total year. That is not going to cause anybody to think they've really felt tax relief. So, to me, that's not an option. That is a token thing to say, hey, we checked a box.
Yeah.
In fact, I think people are going to laugh at us if we give them $200 back. What's that, $20 a month?
I think that's right.
That's not going to transform anybody's life. But under our plan, with the complete elimination of the income tax, the first year under our plan, you get $1,300 back in your pocket. $2,600 for a married couple. Yeah. That's an extra $200 a month, not $200 a year that you have in your pocket. And in 7 years, that exemption goes up when that exemption goes up, you get $4,500. If you're making $100,000 a year, you get $4,500 back in your pocket. A married couple would be $9,000. That's almost another $1,000 a month for a family. That's transformative. And in 12 years under our plan, it goes away altogether. You're changing the lives of people when you do that. You're allowing them to improve their quality of life, take better care of their children, give more to their church, give more to their community. I mean, all the benefits of putting money back into the pockets of the people are realized. So we're not looking to do some token check-the-box plan. We want to do substantial, transformative tax relief. And that's what our plan accomplishes. If there's a better way of going about it, we're open to that. Now, some have said, hey, let's just phase it out through growth. Well, the only way to do that we've done the numbers. If you some point to the elimination of the 3% bracket, which we did over the last 5 years, did 0.5% a year for 6 years. If you did that, it would take 30 years to get there.
Yeah.
And that assumes a 3% growth rate. If you have a 2.5% growth rate, which we all know inflation's coming, I have no idea what our growth rate's going to be, it takes till 2085. So to just do it through growth doesn't get you immediate, quick, transformative relief. There are no young people out there looking to move to Mississippi who are saying, hey, I think I'm going to move to Mississippi because 30 years from now they're not going to have an income tax. That's not transformative. That doesn't improve the life of Mississippians. The current working generation would never reap the benefit of that. Yeah. So we're trying to find that way where we can get rid of the income tax as quickly as possible, as responsibly as possible, and not leave a budget hole that compromises There's a lot of people who are worried about, we're going to cut education, we're going to cut roads and bridges. No, under our plan, we do not do that. So we believe this plan is transformative. It will affect immediately, put $1,300 back in the pocket of every Mississippian who makes $40,000 or more a year.
Well, I totally agree on the point, Mr. Speaker, that let's don't do something token. You may recall, I think, the last statement I made.
You did.
I said,
You're
go
exactly
big,
right.
Go bold, or go home here.
You're exactly
don't just
right.
check the box and say, look, I put it on your bingo card. I voted to cut taxes, and you get $20 a month.
I think your exact words were, don't do something token like eliminate the 4% bracket.
I sure did say that, yeah. Well, I appreciate that.
Because I was listening to what you said, because
Yes,
you're a
sir.
smart guy, and I really like to hear what you have to say.
Well, I appreciate that. Don't know about that. But, we got to do something, and you're so right. Just acting in a token fashion doesn't move the needle. We've got to do something transformative. And the other thing, Mr. Speaker, numerous other states are going through this exact same process.
Excellent point.
They're engaged in these same discussions, and we want to get out in front, not be behind.
That's an excellent point. I'm glad you brought that up. The state of Arkansas, right before Christmas, passed a bill. I don't know where it stands right now, but they passed a bill to start down the road of eliminating their income tax. The state of Arizona has passed one. The state of North Carolina has passed one. And I think New Hampshire has passed one.
That's right.
So these are our surrounding states, our competing states, who are competing for young people. They're competing for jobs and industry. And you may have heard me say I had a conversation with an economic developer in our state who indicated that he was trying to attract a company to Mississippi. The CEO of that company made, I think he said, almost $1 million a year. He said if he comes to Mississippi, he's going to have to pay an income tax on that. Mm-hmm. If he goes to Tennessee, he gets to keep it all. Mm-hmm. And his comment to me was, I might not only lose that guy, I bring all the jobs that guy brings with him.
Yeah, that's the point. Absolutely.
And as we try to compete with other states for attracting jobs and industry and young people, it becomes a factor.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we're going to transform and become like those other states just by getting rid of the income tax. Don't hear me say that. But what I am saying is it is one obstacle to people coming here.
Yeah.
And if we need to eliminate as many obstacles as we can.
Totally agree.
And well, the census bears that out, Gerard. I mean, we can sit here and argue philosophy and policy all day long, but just look at the census. The two states, we were talking about this earlier in redistricting, the two states had the highest population increase, Texas and Florida.
Yep.
One of the fastest growing cities in America, if not the fastest, is Nashville, Tennessee. What do those three places have in common? No income tax.
Yeah.
The two states that lost the most population, Illinois and California, two of the highest tax states in the country.
Totally agree.
Now, there are other things that go into that. There are values. There are Christian values that play into that. There are, heck, for some folks, it's just the weather. I get that. But you can't ignore the fact that taxation is a consideration in all of those decisions.
It definitely is. So a couple of minutes left. Two issues that I wanted you to touch on, if you could, sir, is the medical marijuana deal and also the ballot initiative process,
right.
If there are any plans there.
Yes, sir. Well, the medical marijuana, the Senate has taken the lead on that. We have offered our thoughts and inputs. We are not going to have a House bill. We will not lead out on that issue. The Senate will lead out. We are very much in favor of medical marijuana. That's what the people said they wanted. We recognize that we're trying to make this as conservative as we can get it. We're trying to pull in that direction. The House has been very much pulling in that direction. There are a lot of issues that I won't get into that we have negotiated and tried to get the most conservative plan that we can. I don't know what the Senate will pass. We are going to wait and see what they do, and we'll work from that.
Yeah.
The House will not be presenting a bill.
Fair enough.
The ballot initiative, we recognize that was set aside by the Supreme Court. It's a right that the citizens of the state feel like is very important to them. I believe we must reinstate that. For those that don't know, it's an opportunity for the citizens to put public policy items before the public for a vote. With Initiative 65 was one of them. Initiative 42 was one a few years ago. We got voter ID and eminent domain that way and other things. The citizens believe that is a very important right that they have. I agree with that. And so we will be planning to bring forward a bill to restore that. I will say that the one thing that we will do that will be different than the way it was before is to make any initiative that the citizens vote on go into the statutes, not go into the Constitution.
Okay.
I don't know if people understand the difference of that, or
we've talked about it many times on the show.
But we all know that items need to have the flexibility to be adjusted and tweaked and improved as time marches on. And so by putting it into the statute, it gives us the flexibility to make sure that the intended result occurs, not some unintended result. So that'd be the main difference between the last initiative and this new one that we're talking about.
Yeah, I think most people would be on board with that. Mr. Speaker, appreciate you coming in today, sir, and good luck on the 2022
Thank you. It's
session.
always a pleasure to be with you. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity.
Yes, sir.
We'll
Speaker
be back with you.
Thank you, sir. Speaker of the House, Philip Gunn, has been our guest. Stay with us on Middays. We'll be back after the break.